Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakak Wadash, and double honors to the elder apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who rule well and teach well through the Spirit, the one that they continue to endure and be sincere. And a mighty Shalom to the hopeful elect in the same Spirit, the one that you continue to endure and be sincere. Shalom to the Akwat Yam that are believers of the faith and its truth, the one that you could continue to pursue your lot, which is being a loving and silent and virtuous wife, and Lord willing, most have mercy on the other brothers and sisters that's not in the faith. The title of this lesson today is, This Shall Soon Happen. Right? This shall happen soon. Right? Lord willing, it's edifying and straight to the point. So this second Ezra is chapter 16, verse 52. I'm going to read in the KJV and the GNT. It reads, For yet a little, and iniquity shall be taken away out of the earth, and righteousness shall reign among you. In the GNT it says, For in a very short time sinfulness will be swept out of the world, and righteousness shall rule among you. And for it to rule among us is when Yahweh sends Yahushai to come and gather the elect and put all the other nations under subjection and to be his footstool. And this is what the elect is truly desiring, a kingdom in righteousness. Another precept that I thought of that line with it is Proverbs, the 29th chapter, in verse 2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. Each and every day, we're mourning because of our oppressors ruling over us. We have no rest. We have to keep moving, but you want to make sure that you're moving in the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and the Rakak Wadash of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. This is not easy. This is not easy. So this is Proverbs chapter 11 and verse 10. In the KJV it says, When it goeth well with the righteous, the city rejoiceth. And when the wicked perish, there is shouting. In the NLT, the whole city celebrates when the godly exceed. They shout for joy when the wicked die. And by the power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, that time will come. This shall happen soon, where we will be glad and joyful and prosperous. And the wicked shall be put in their place. Not all the wicked is going to die. Of course, we understand through scriptures that Mystery Babylon, aka America and Israel, is going to be destroyed, but Israel is going to be rebuilt because that fire is going to allow it to be cleansed. But the elites that's going to be able to hide themselves from that terror, the Lord is preserving them to be the first crops of servitude. Because if we go to Psalms 110, in verse 1, where the Lord says, Sit on my right hand till I make your enemies your footstool. If all the nations die, how are they going to be the footstool of Yahushai? It's because the Lord is going to reserve some of them. And through the Spirit, they're already working on their plan to make it through the terror that is going to come in the earth. So I'm going to Proverbs, the 28th chapter. And I'm going to read verse 12 in the NLT. It says, When the godly succeed, everyone is glad. When the wicked take charge, people go into hiding. When I went into the NLT, it was like, wow. And then it just reminded me of First Maccabees, which I'm going to go to this. And just to make it even plain for everybody that's going to watch this video, we're going to read this in the GNT, chapter 1, verse 51 to 53. It says the king not only issued the same decree throughout the whole empire, but he also appointed officials to supervise the people and commanded each town in Judea to offer pagan sacrifices. Many of the Jews were ready to forsake the law and to obey these officials, right? Which we have now, which will accumulate to 2/3, where they want to be of this world, where they consent or cleave to the ways of this beast. It says in their conduct forced all true Israelites to hide wherever they could. So true Israelites are one that are inwardly Israelites, right? With a circumcised heart, right? Because the true Israelites are walking through the spirit. The ones that are earthly, guess what? They will yield or forsake the ways of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai and cleave unto the heathen. So let's go to 2 Maccabees, the 6th chapter in the GNT, starting at verse 3 and reading to 11. It says the oppression was harsh and almost intolerable. Gentiles filled the temple with drinking parties and all sorts of immorality, and they even had intercourse with prostitutes there. Forbidding objects were brought into the temple, and the altar was covered with detestable sacrifices prohibited by our law, Salaki. It was impossible to observe the Sabbath, to celebrate any of the traditional festivals. And when you look at that Sabbath, that's talking about new moons. It's talking about the Sabbath in the beginning, I believe, in the Passover, Pentecost, and Tabernacles, right? Verse 7, it says, each month when the king's birthday was celebrated, and it's somebody else in the time of when Israel was in Egypt, we were celebrating birthdays. That's not our custom. It says the Jews were compelled by brute force to eat the intestines of sacrificial animals. Then during the festival in honor of the wine god Dionysus, they were required to wear ivy wreaths on their heads and march in procession. On the advice of Ptolemy, the neighboring Greek cities were also instructed to inquire Jews to eat sacrifices. They were told to put to death every Jew who refused to adopt the Greek way of life. It was easy to see that hard times were ahead. That verse should be highlighted because this is a way of Israel becoming Greeks or Gentiles, right? Reading again, verse 9, they were told to put to death every Jew who refused to adopt the Greek way of life. This is why we're at mourning. It was easy to see that hard times were ahead. For example, 2 women were arrested for having their babies circumcised. They were paraded around the city with their babies hung from their breasts. Then they were thrown down from the city wall. On another occasion, Philip was told that some Jews had gathered in a nearby cave to observe the Sabbath in secret. Philip attacked and burned them all alive. They had such respect for the Shabbat that they would not fight to defend themselves, right? So they went in a cave to observe the Sabbath secretly. Imagine what else they was going in caves and hiding secretly. But guess what? This evil, vicious Philip burned them alive, man. Burned them alive. Going back, let's go back to Proverbs 28, verse 12 in the NLT. When the godly succeed, everyone is glad. When the wicked take charge, people go into hiding. Right? Just imagine when this MOTB come, the elect, the true elect that's going to get persecuted in that time, we're going to be fleeing from persecution. Some of us is just going to be snatched up and might not be able to escape. And we're going to have to take in that penalty of holding on to the ways of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. You know? In order to get our kingdom, we're going to have to go through things, right? It's another one, which I'll just quote it. This is a side note. When you go to Revelations, the 12th chapter, verse 13 to 17, it deals with Rome or the Romans persecuting Israel in the time when, especially in the time of when Mary was bringing forth her Mashiach, they was afflicting Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. And at certain times when even the time of when Vespasian and Titus destroyed the temple, 1 million Israelites flee to the African mountains and they hid themselves. But it wasn't literally the mountains. I mean, they went to the mountains, but it was the people. They blended in with the people because we resemble them by color. Some of us by in certain statures. The same with the Egyptians. But the Lord put a difference. But to the Romans, they couldn't identify us, right? And all praise to Yahweh B'Shem Al-Shai for these examples that we have in history of some of us hiding from the wicked, right? When the wicked take charge, people go into hiding. And through the spirit of where we at right now, most of us in this faith is really more of a hiding, right? Because the whole world will really know us doing how we used to do in the ancient world, right? I'm not going to work every day with my fringes on, right? Because eventually there's going to come a time where people that was falsely prophesying, they're going to hide their prophet apparel so that people wouldn't notice them. But people are going to be seeking after the ones that falsely prophesied unto them. But even more, if you are of the elect and you're fleeing from your oppressors to afflict you or make it mandatory that you take this charagma, a lot of us are going to hide. Some of us is going to try to flee to another city and might not be able to, right? You have some people that might not fully be, that's not in this faith and might hide themselves in the clefts of rocks or ask a rock or a building to fall on them because judgment is coming. And some of them are going to seek death and won't find it. You know, this is why we need a righteous ruler, which is really Hamashiach Yahushai. I'm going to stay in this chapter. I'm going to drop down to verse 28. And I'm going to read in the KJV and then the NLT. So Proverbs 28, verse 28 in the KJV, it says, when the wicked rise, men hide themselves. We've seen examples. But when they perish, the righteous increase. In the NLT, when the wicked take charge, people go into hiding. When the wicked meet disaster, the godly flourish. Right? When the wicked meet disaster, the godly flourish. We're not going to be, when the wicked fall, we're not going to have to go in hiding. We're not going to have to flee. Right? We're going to be the light of the whole world. Right? And I'm not saying what I just said earlier, a verse ago, not a literal hiding, right? We're not how we used to be, you know. Mostly what everybody see us do is teach. We're not going at war with nobody, right? Because we don't have no army. In our past life, it was known the power of the Lord was with us. You know, we was taking people's stuff. We was taking people area. We was putting order around us. You know, we had other nations in subjection under us in the time of David and Solomon. Right now, we're so low. We're so low. So secretly, we are secret Israelites because you don't have it on your identification. We're so low is because of our captivity. And I'm tired of being this low. I'm tired of the world not knowing who we truly is. And it's going to come a time where all these people is going to recognize who they was persecuting, right? Let me get a side precept. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter. We just going to only read the first verse. It says, then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him and made no account of his labors. Now we're going to stand in great boldness. We can't strongly stand in great boldness. The number one thing we use in boldness is the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the Lord, right? We can't stand in boldness persecuting a nation. We can't subject them underneath us until Yahweh sends his son, Yahweh Shai. You know, we're very low. We're very low on this side. So let's get another example that, you know, the children of Israel are exalted. Let's go to Esther, the 8th chapter, and we're going to read verse 15 to 17. In the KJV, it says, and Mordecai went out from the presence of the king in a royal apparel of blue and white, and with a great crown of gold, and with a garment of fine linen, and purple. And the city of Shushan rejoiced and was glad. The Jews had light and gladness and joy and honor. And in every province, in every city, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree, the Jews had joy and gladness, a feast and a good day. And many of the people of the land became Jews, for the fear of the Jews fell upon them. Now, before I keep going, right, the reason why this happened is because Haman was pursuing to afflict the Jews, starting with Mordecai. But after Esther, had that banquet and then, made her request known to the king, Haman fell by his own device, which the same thing is going to happen in this time. And Mordecai was able to give decrees on behalf of the king and even Esther. But then at the end, where it says that of the people of the land became Jews, now, I just got to clean this up because it's in that verse. It's just people basically followed the customs of the Jews. This is the Persian rulership, Persian Medes rulership. In the northern kingdom at this time, would majority of them would be in Americas, right? And the Jews was in the hands of the Persians. So a lot of people cleave to the ways of the Jews, which was following the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. You can't become a Jew by nationality, right? If you're not part of the blood, right? But you can so-called convert to whatever your religion is and start following us. That's basically what it's going into, right? But I just had to clear that up. But we see the example of Jews being exalted, right? After the wicked fall, the Jews are exalted. And we see that example with Mordecai. Let's go to another one. This is a song of Solomon. This is Psalm 72. And I'm going to read verse 1 to 9. In the KJV, it says, "Give the king thy judgments, O God, and thy righteousness unto the king's son, which is Solomon. He shall judge thy people with righteousness, and thy poor with judgment. The mountains shall bring peace to the people in the little hills by righteousness. He shall judge the poor of the people, and shall save the children of the needy, and shall break in pieces the oppressors. And they shall fear thee as long as the sun and the moon endure throughout all generations. He shall come down like rain upon the mound grass, as showers that water the earth. In his days shall the righteous flourish, in abundance of peace, so long as the moon endureth. He shall have dominion also from sea to sea, and from the river unto the ends of the earth. They that dwell in the wilderness shall bow before him, and his enemies shall lick the dust." Solomon ruled for 40 years. But when Yahushua comes, he's going to rule forever and ever and ever and ever, forever, ever. And you can continue to say forever, ever, and it will never diminish. Let me just get a precept. Let's get a confirmation. Let's go to Daniel chapter 2, and I believe it's verse 44. It says, "In the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever under the authority of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai." You should desire this. You should be thinking on peace. You should be thinking on rulership under a righteous king, where we don't have to mourn anymore. Ain't no more Israelite crackheads. Ain't no more Israelite prostitutes. Ain't no more Israelite hoes, hoochie mamas. Ain't no baby mamas, right? A change is gonna come, but it only happens through Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Let's go to the book of Jeremiah in verse 23, verse 5 and 6. It says, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh Ba'Shem Al-Shai, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch. That righteous branch is Hamashiach Yahushai, and a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute just judgment and justice in the earth. In his days Judah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely. And this is his name whereby he shall be called the Lord of righteousness. It's going to be a great day when Yahweh sends Yahushai. Right? Let me get this other side one. Let me just get this other one. This is Wisdom of Solomon, the 18th chapter, in verse 15. It says, thy almighty word leaped down from heaven, out of thy royal throne as a fierce man of war, into the midst of a land of destruction. That's Yahushai leaping off his throne, right? Fit for a place that is fit for destruction, man. Right? Let me read this one. Isaiah 9 and 6. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the Almighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. That government is the elect, starting with the 144,000 on the shoulders of Hamashiach Yahushai, right? Because he is our true king, man. Right? These other nations, Esau, they not our kings. So let's get this. Revelations, the 19th chapter, in verse 11 to 16. And I saw heaven opened, and behold, a white horse, which is Yahushai. Revelations, the 6th chapter, verse 1 and 2. And horse is a symbol of power. It says, and he that sat upon him was called faithful and true, and in righteousness he doeth judge and make war, because he's a man of war. Right? It says his eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns, because the kingdoms before him, right, are destroyed and taken. Daniel 2 and 21, the Lord set up kings and removed kings. These kings are going to be removed, and Yahushua is going to be set up. It says, and he had a name written that no man knew but he himself, right? And when you go into the interlinear for that word, it means authority or rank, right? Verse 13, it says, he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of God, right? Isaiah 63, verse 1 and 4, right? It's going to be a bloody scene when Hamashiach Yahushai arrives, right? It says the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, which is those chariots, which is an example of power, clothed in fine linen, white and clean, right? And it's not just only the heavenly angels, some of the elect that's in the spirit world in the time of Yahushai returning, talking about the elect that's in the spirit world in the name of Yahweh Ba'Shem Al-Shai. The mighty men are going to arrive on those chariots with Yahushai, right? Because the mighty men of the 144,000 is a part of the Lord's army, right? Verse 15, and out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he could smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness in the wrath of the Almighty God. And he have on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Now I'm about to go to 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter, because it said, out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he shall smite the nations, right? Because Yahushua doesn't need to carry any weapon. Literally, he is a weapon himself, right? He could speak it into existence, but the chariot, as an example, is a power, right? So here we go. The 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter, in verse 3, it says, and I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. And when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him. And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it filleth the fire. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. Because the nations, starting with Esau, are going to make war against Yahushua and his elect. But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew upon it. Right? The chariot is symbolized as a cloud or a mountain. Right? It says, but I would have, and he couldn't see. This verse is going to explain what I was about to say. But I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was driven, and I could not. So he couldn't see the end of a region because that mountain, the chariot, was so big. It says, after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were so afraid. Yes, there's fight. They was afraid, but they continued to try to fight. And it says, and lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lift up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war. But only I saw that he sent out of his mouth, as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests. And they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid, because he's going to speak, and them laser beams are going to shoot out a controlled fire, right? That's very fervent, and it's going to. It just said that to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke, because they're going to vaporize. If you watch Iron Man, the third movie, the third series, or however you want to call it, the third Iron Man, in the part with those people that were bombs themselves, when they would blow up, the Fahrenheit was 3,000, and it would leave a shadow. So they're gonna truly burn up, disintegrate into a powder, man. So the sight of the Lord is going to be amazing, which we just is using this to reflect on what we just read in Revelations, the 19th chapter, verse 15. So let's get this last one, Lord willing. Revelations, the 11th chapter, in verse 15. I would even read 14. It says, the second woe is past, which is doom, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. This is that third woe that's going to be in this world, which is really World War III. That's going to be used with the ICBM missiles. Let alone when Yahushua and the heavenly angels come, it's going to be Armageddon, right? A beautiful war that was prophesied before its time. Verse 15, and the seventh angel sounded, and there were great voices in heaven saying, the kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of the Lord and of Hamashiach, and he shall reign forever and ever. Right? And this is going to happen. This is going to happen. Let me read something real quick. Jeremiah, the 2nd chapter. And I'm going to read this. I'm going to read this in the NLT. You can read it in the KJV. Jeremiah 2 verse 2. It says, go and shout this message to Jerusalem, which is the people. This is what Yahweh says. I remember how eager you were to please me as a young bride long ago, how you loved me and followed me, even through the barren wilderness. In those days, Israel was holy to Yahweh, the first of his children. All who harmed his people were declared guilty, and disaster fell on them. I, Yahweh, have spoken. Listen to the word of Yahweh, people of Jacob, all the families of Israel. Hold on, I want to make sure that I got the right one, right? Because it's a point that I want to bring out in that chapter. It might be in the first chapter. Let me make sure, Salaki family. You want to make sure that this is right. This is what we want, right? So we're going to go backwards. We're going to go to the first chapter in verse 11. That's not exactly what I wanted. So Salaki, let's get verse 10 and verse 11 in Jeremiah 1. It says, "Today I appointed you to stand up against nations and kingdoms. Some you must uproot, tear down, destroy, and overthrow. Others you must build up and plant." Then Yahweh said to me, "Look, Jeremiah, what do you see?" And I replied, "I see a branch from an almond tree." And Yahweh said, "That's right." Salaki. Okay, and Yahweh said, "That's right." And it means that I am watching, and I will certainly carry out all my plans, right? Jeremiah seen a branch stick out from an almond tree, and the Lord said, "Oh, this is a sign of showing you I am watching, and I will certainly carry out my plan," right? And when you go to Habakkuk, right, and I'm only just using that as an example because people really think that the words of Yahweh Ba'Shem Al Shai is unavoid, right? Or they're taking too long. Since they're taking too long, they won't happen. Habakkuk chapter 2, which is a beautiful example, the KJV, the NOT, the GNT, you understand that all of these prophecies is for an appointed time, right? Isaiah 46 verse 10 in the KJV, it says, "Declaring the end from the beginning and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasures." Right? So the end is already declared in the beginning. And if you so-called have faith, you should be able to believe that these scriptures are for an appointed time. Each one, they're not going to happen when you want or what you thought. They're going to happen in the time of the Lord. He's the one that says go, right? And you have to patiently wait on these things, but truly desire it. The more you desire it, right, you should be applying yourself so you can get those benefits, right? But really, you want to apply this into your life because you believe in him. You know he's the only way. You know that is true, right? He tells us in the gospel, first seek the kingdom of heaven, and all these things shall be added unto you. There's so many things I desire and I want, but I have to seek the kingdom first, because all those things that's in your heart that you desire shall be added unto you. The Lord shows us in the book of Psalms and in the prophets, the righteous, whatever's in your heart, whatever you desire, he's going to give it to you. Whatever you delight in, he's going to give it to you, right? But we have to hold on. And you have to know this shall happen soon. This shall happen soon. Right? I know you getting tired. I know it's like, damn, it's taking man. This shall happen soon. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem HaKadosh, Barak to Yahweh, Barak to Yahushai. Lord willing, this was edifying. Regardless of the hiccups, Lord willing, this is edifying to the sheep and the believers, right? I want to give a double honors to the elder apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well through the Spirit. Lord willing, that you continue to endure and be sincere. And a mighty shalom to the hopeful elect in the same spirit, teaching this word and believing this word. And shalom to the Akwat Yam that are believers of this faith and this truth. Lord willing, you can continue to pursue your lot, which is being a loving and silent and virtuous wife. And Lord willing, the Most High have mercy on you, brothers and sisters that is not in this faith. And with that, shalom.